Second game between TheMista and Tadao is going to be played on Alfheim. You can see that the gods are going to be sticking the same, and that kind of makes sense because Tadao, really, he cannot play all that much other gods. He's really liking his Egyptians. He can play potentially Set, but he's definitely feeling more confident with Isis. And looking at how Zeus is one of the better gods against Isis, well, probably the best god against her. There is no reason why TheMista should be switching, especially after the pretty tough game that he had on the Midgard. Well then, so Alfheim, that's yet another pretty good map for an Egyptian, because that's a closed map with all the cliffs and all the forests in there. And looking at a pretty high amount of berries in here, and the chickens, it's looking like a pretty decent map, especially with the town center literally inside his base. Oh my. This is going to be a pretty funny game for TheMista, I'm afraid, for him. Because really, this is quite unusual. This is almost like Megalopolis. And this is going to make his movement very, very easy, as he doesn't need to leave his base. And if he has some extra gold at the bottom, well, that's going to be pretty terrible for TheMista, and good luck dealing with that. You can see gold very nearby, quite close by to his base, and there's a bit of hunt at the bottom. So yeah. Red definitely can go for extra hunt. He has chosen, unfortunately for him, the one in the forefront and the double elks in here, but it's still going to be pretty good enough for him, I think. As with the extra bears, yeah, it's kinda okay. And I'm expecting that there might be some extra hunt somewhere close by. You'll be seeing pretty soon, as TheMista's Kataskopos is just now discovering where his opponent is just now scouting, and well, there's one on the left, and this is interesting usage actually of Bolt quite soon, which is basically telling you that he just doesn't care at all about the Son of Osiris. We have seen the same in the last game, and he's going to be thinking that he must decide the game a whole lot sooner. A lot of hunt on the left for Tadao, which he has yet to discover with the third town center as well, which is kind of hard as for the position, because it's obviously not going to be guarding anything. Potentially the one gold in here, but yeah, not really all that much. But overall, it's not a bad position. It's kind of halfway covered. Going to be easy to wall for his opponent, rather for his own villagers, so not really all that bad. And TheMista's is most definitely better because it's much closer to his base, the same as the one at the back, but really, this wins the cookie. This is absolutely brutal town center for an Egyptian to be had. Especially with the positioning of the gold, which is not half bad, as Tadao is having a big gold mine right next to his home base. And all he needs to do is place a Migdol about here, and he's basically in a pretty sweet position to boom and do whatever he wants. At the same time, the map is kinda not ideal for him for trade route. It's kinda disrupted all the way, and yeah, not efficient at all. You can see they would have to wind through here somewhere, or yeah, going through the middle of the map, so it's not ideal for that in the very later game. But looking at the amount of gold, the 5 gold mines on the right side, if Tadao can somehow protect this part of the map, well, good luck to TheMista dealing with that, because we have seen the last game around, Tadao definitely knew what he was going to do, with all the advantages that he was given. Looking into TheMista's point of view, what he has scouted so far, he has scouted basically the whole half of his map. So he knows about the gold on the opponent's side and also on his. This is kind of decent, not really far away. And those gold mines on the left side are also pretty decent, goes by to the TC, so not bad. As he's dropping a temple. And in the forefront, yeah, potentially open to the raiding on the berries, which are thinking are going to be used by him very, very soon. As we don't really see all that much of a hunt for him. Actually, we don't see any hunt. We see literally no hunt, so this seems like the only hunt for him. He maybe had some double elk at the start as well, and he has already moved. He has already moved, basically to the opponent's third DC, on the opponent's part of the map, because he doesn't have any hunt on his map. You can see absolutely nothing. Literally nothing on his part of the map. Well, that's pretty sad. So this map is definitely quite well in favor of Tadao, so can he make something happen with it? Well, we definitely hope that he can. Intef is already having a relic for better siege tower crashed attack. That's a pretty big one. Pretty big one for an Eggy. Another relic at the bottom is for recharge time of the Myth unit special attacks. That's not great for him, but of course it's going to be very important for him to capture and not give to TheMista as a Zeus. And working with the wall in here, that's kind of not ideal. Not exactly. What is the point? What is the point of this and not building a wall here? Unless this is actually passable, because this is somehow weird. This is a weird cliff, because cliff should look like this. And it looks like this. Why? Does it actually mean that it's passable? If it is, then it's going to be making for some funny, funny stuff. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe Tadao thinks so, or maybe he tested it. I'm not exactly sure, because otherwise this wall makes no sense, as the wall should have been placed in here, most definitely. And yeah, only reason is that this is actually passable, which is weird. And a really strange spawn of the map overall. So far he's not advancing, he's going to be advancing soon. So that's looking like a pretty standard build order into faster heroic, as Athena is coming in for TheMista. And other relics, Myth Unit training, faster Myth Unit training time. Yet again, very sweet one for TheMista as the Greek. And better town center population slots. Well, that's a good one. That's definitely one that TheMista might be very, very happy about. And interesting. I'm just thinking that it might be a bit better choice to actually go for the one in the more offensive, as TheMista he's nearby, he does have the release in there. And since this opponent is most assuredly going to go faster heroic because of the late advance, which is basically giving it up, and also the experience from the last game, I'm not really sure if maybe TheMista is going to go for 3 town centers right off the bat, or not. Because he's probably expecting some very strong push into his base very soon with the ancestors, and that's why he chooses a bit more defensive position, but I'm not really sure it's going to be needed all that much. I personally would have probably went, or rather gone, for the TC in the forefront, as it's not a bad position, and I think it's kind of similar to what TheMista is having, and there's the added bonus that he has the release in there, and he will be controlling like 3/4 of the map at least, so that would be a pretty decent bonus for him. But well, that's obviously not going to happen, as TheMista is scouting through the base of the red player, who is just now building, of course, armory for the faster heroic, and we are going to be seeing pickaxe, waiting for the prosperity, of course. And as for the opponent, for TheMista, we are seeing pickaxe and hand axe, pretty much the standard as you would be expecting from him at this point. So, Blue is actually still continuing to basically steal all the hunt from Tadao. That's very nicely played by him, and kinda poorly by Tadao, I have to say, because that should be something that he should be seeing just by himself. And even though the Minotaur is dead, it's almost looking like that the Sphinx is going to be dead reasonably soon as well, either from Odysseus or from Jason. But also maybe she could be healed, not really sure. As the Pharaoh with the priest is coming forward, so is this going to be like a priest siege? Let's see. This is almost looking like it, because he's already building some priests for himself as an army, as he's going to be just now clicking into Heroic Age. If he can relinquish the auto queue, of course. And yeah, just confirmation that TheMista is going to be continuing with stealing the hunt from his opponent and basically trying to keep his opponent at bay with the walls. And yeah, this is very nicely played and quite gutsy from him, to be honest. Prosperity has been cast. With basically nothing happening so far, as we see double stables together with archery range for TheMista. And is TheMista going to be advancing as well? Let's check through his town centers. So far not, so he's probably going to be fully booming. If you have a look in his point of view, yeah, he definitely doesn't have the resources. So he's basically right now going for a bit more standard build-up than what we have seen on the mid-guard because of the skills and the water. And yeah, we are going to be seeing his attempt to disrupt the building of the Migdol of his opponent. So we are going to be expecting the Migdol to be attempted about here. It's close by through wall and close through gold, of course, that he needs to secure, as there's not any kind of gold mine at the back. And he really needs to go for it, because on the left, TheMista is already making sure that this situation is not all that easy for the red player, and TheMista is already also camping right in front of his base. You can see that he was exactly going in there, Tadao, into the forefront next to gold. So he's forced into a bit more defensive position, and that's a pretty big problem because, of course, his gold mine is going to be running out reasonably soon. He's just down to the last 880. And once that runs out, he will have to push through, and he definitely has to hope that Ancestors are going to be enough to help him in that. I kind of think that it could be. In this position, I don't really think that TheMista is having enough army, especially without the upgrades into medium, either Hippicons or Toxots. And he's going for DC. Huh. That's a second DC. And a Migdol. So, well, he definitely is playing it quite dangerously, because once he runs out of gold, I don't really think that he's going to be able to set up trade routes strong enough, or rather fast enough, and strong enough as well, as he's going to be denied at the top in here. And yeah, this is going to be quite interesting to see how Tadao and TheMista also manage the minutes to come. Okay, so there's going to be full-on attempt, of course, on the gold. So right now he's going to be moving forward. If he actually lets himself. Right now he does. That was a bit of a traffic jam. And of course TheMista is going to be doing a bit of a scouting around and possibly discovering what is happening. And with the horses coming to the bottom, we are maybe going to be see if this is passable or not. Let's see. They are going to be... Oh yeah! Yeah, it is passable. There was one of those you could have seen. He was basically going like through a lift, just up the hill in an instant. So it is definitely passable, and this is some kind of weird spawn of the map, which you don't really see all that often. I don't really remember seeing any kind of spawn like this for a long time. I remember seeing it before, but not really for a long time. But yeah, that is most definitely quite unlucky for Tadao, and definitely explains why he built the wall the way he did, because this isn't safe, and it isn't a good support for his walling. So far TheMista is doing a pretty good job on defending this position, especially with his upgrade into Hippicons, and we could be seeing the Ancestors just about now. But it seems like that Tadao seems to be quite confident that he can handle this without any kind of extra support. And especially with getting rid of the Odysseus, well, right now there could be a good spot. Good spot for him to go into full-on offensive. If only he had siege works and some extra siege towers, because with siege towers he could be most definitely seeing an attack on the forward base in here, and that would be pretty deadly, because I don't think that TheMista would be having enough push without the hero to deal with the Ancestors and with the army at the same time. So medium Hippicons and Toxots as well. As the engagement is coming in. And this is a pretty bad engagement for Tadao, to be honest. You shouldn't be taking this at all, as the Toxos are in pretty big numbers, which means that all those guys are getting pretty slaughtered in here. Even you can see the Sphinx is getting hammered by the Toxots and the one odd shot from Odysseus. And yeah, he needs to take this quite a lot carefully, and probably should be building a Migdol sooner rather than later, because he needs to protect this gold at all costs. And if he can place the Migdol a bit more advantageously, like for example in here, he could be kinda also covering the gold on the right and on the left, giving him some extra opportunities for the game to come. So I really think that should be a course of action before building extra army. He really needs some extra protection from the buildings, because with his army he cannot do it just by himself. Going to the bottom to finish with the walling so that he's protecting his part of the map as much as he can, as at the same time Tadao is going for a bit of raiding, trying to find something to kill. He might be finding those 4 willies that have basically established themselves a bit of a village in here that is going to be meeting a violent end, and with the Ancestors being called right now in the middle. Oh well. Oh well. That's a pretty important fight, and it seems like that actually TheMista might be having enough army for this, as Tadao is having a bit of a problems with the Hippicons in his chariot archers, and it seemed like that Odysseus was doing a pretty good job dealing with the Ancestors, but he was probably singled by the chariot archers, as I don't see him anymore, but I definitely heard him, his sighs and such sounds that he's making, and well, it seems like that we are in for a bit of a push, but yet again, this is not going to be all that successful. This was pretty much a defensive Ancestors. These were defensive Ancestors pretty much. Without the siege towers, there is not going to be any kind of offensive, and all he can hope Tadao is for a bit of raiding, which is going to be successful, it seems like, as he's just fighting the third town center by TheMista at the very back, and going to be disrupting a bit of economy by his opponent. Looking at the upgrades, we are seeing at least Blow, of course, but not anything else, as he is still in the classical age. Whereas his opponent is giving some extras. Oh no, just Index and Pickaxe still. Shaft Mine would definitely be going a long way towards the Egyptians' happiness in here. But he needs some extra food for it, so yeah. Blow could definitely help as well. He's right now through the building of the Migdol, as we were talking about a bit earlier, secured a big part of the map with a lot of gold in here, and you can see that TheMista has kinda relinquished this position through building of the wall, so he's not really going to be all that interested in that position. And all those gold mines are most definitely going to be a pretty big help. So this is going to be a pretty good spot for Tadao to move a bit forward with yet another Migdol in here, and basically making sure that that part of the map is his fully. But he is still with his army on the left, basically camping in here, hoping that he can kill some villagers. But that's not going to be the case in here all that much, as with the Hippicons coming into the fun, with the number of Toxots being pretty big, yeah, this is not going to be all that easy to push through, and all he can right now hope for is to find some chink in TheMista's armor and the walling, and maybe kill something like these gold police, yeah, something like that. Still really missing the siege works in here from Tadao. Not really understand why he isn't building them, as he's even house, so he should be having a pretty good economy and all, as he's finally having Blow looking at the farms, and moving to the left to capture the third TC. So it seems like this is going to be yet another pretty important fight, if there is going to be a fight, as Tadao needs to keep his opponent off this position of the town center for as long as he can, and most definitely for as long as it's not finished. Right now he's retreating exactly to it, but look at how it is coming up quite soon. With the help of the Pharaoh, it's probably not going to be all that much of a problem in here. I could be expecting Heroic Age from his opponent, yeah. Here we see exactly, and this time he's advancing into Apollo, and that's a bit of a problem, because with the Underworld Passage on a closed map like this, he could be mounting some very surprising attack, and I would be expecting that that is exactly what right now TheMista is having in his mind, as Tadao is moving for the gold on the left, and really having a ton of gold, literally all around. This is looking like a pretty sweet map for him so far. Right at this position, we are seeing a pretty good army right now by TheMista. So is he going to go for a bit of an offensive and maybe an attempt on the DC? Now with the market coming down, it's going to be quite fun for him to finish. And with the Hephaestus, oh yeah, this is going to be pretty much standard with the Underworld Passage and all the nonsenses that he can master. So yeah, that's exactly what we could be expecting. We could be expecting from the Zeus in the Mythical Age, and here we see that Tadao is right now resigning. I'm not exactly sure about the reason, to be honest. Well, we have to actually catch up with this, because I have no idea why he is right about now resigning. Huh. Looking at the score, that's 200 points. Economical upgrades are pretty good with Sacred Cats, irrigation already. You can see pretty good, going pretty well for him. There's not any kind of attack anywhere. This is kinda weird. Maybe what could be the reason that he may have noticed the drop in score, which happens when you click into Mythic, because that's a huge drop of resources which are not really seen in the game, which means that the score drops because of that. And he has maybe seen that, which means that he is fully knowing what's going to expect, what's going to be coming pretty soon. And since he knows that he's not going to be advancing into Mythic anytime soon, and he also sees pretty decent army by his opponent, and basically seeing, or rather expecting, what's going to come with the Underworld Passage, he is thinking that without the Ancestors and any kind of useful god power, he's going to be toast just right there, which is pretty much true, to be honest. But at the same time, this is really a weird resign. Really a very weird resign that I don't really understand, and it's quite definitely very early. Well, At any rate, it did happen, and TheMista then takes the second game. We have to say, or rather, it's pretty clear that he would have won anyway, because of the standard shenanigans with the Colossus and the Underworld Passage. But this is really unusual. Shaft mine already in. So, pretty good economy for him, and really interesting game so far, and definitely was quite nicely set up, especially the map spawn was absolutely brutal for Tadao, so that's a bit of a shame for him that he couldn't have taken a bit more advantage of the map for himself. So let's check the post game, with TheMista yet again winning everything by by a trackload. That's 4,000, 4,005 extra. So that's 9, that's 10, that's like 10,000 more resources than his opponent. That's by like a half more. Oh my, that's a lot. That's a serious lot. Quite nice boom by TheMista. Quite nice boom indeed. But when you are fast heroic in as an Eggy, that's of course to be expected when your opponent is going for second and then a third TC. Still, pretty weird design in there. Pretty weird indeed. Well then, GG.